We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and we have come across this particular video about a week ago or something like that by this myth, vision, atheist character who likes to debunk Christianity. He was a former Christian, but he got confused, etc., etc. Understandable. So he left it, and he has this show where he has atheists, agnostic scholars, etc., who also debunk Christianity, say, oh, it's got flaws, it's got contradictions, etc., etc. Obviously he has some hidden motive, agenda, why he invites these people on. One day bring a highly qualified theologian, someone like Dr. James D. Francisco, who has 2 doctorates, 2 PhDs in the Aramaic, probably the modern Syriac, the modern Israeli Hebrew, and possibly more. Have him on and debate him, or someone like Cliff Nectar, or someone that is worthy of a challenge, right, to go up against this guy. Do that. We recommend it. That'll be great to see. Mr. Myth Visioned. Okay, so we are trying to reply to a comment thrown at us, or comments thrown at us by a certain person under this video. Here's all the claims by this myth vision character, who is an atheist. This podcast. Okay, so we put up a comment in reply to watching this video, the content of this video. 10 Christian myths that show Jesus never existed at all, nailed by David Fitzgerald. Well, so let's blow that bacon sausage away, shall we? To be nice. If there are these myths that show Jesus never existed at all, if there are the original ancient, very old Galilean Aramaic manuscripts dated at 1 AD, because, well, let's say they were given by Thomas to the church that he founded, the Apostolic Church of the East, in that year. Okay, we may have made a mistake saying it was dated. Okay, we're sorry about that. We apologise. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Right. It was handed over basically to this Church of the East. See, we have honesty as our best policy. If we notice a mistake, we will rectify it. Okay? Because that's what we've stated, that's what we strive to do, that's what we do. That's what we're about. Honesty is our best policy. If we see a mistake or someone brings it to our attention, we research it to see if it actually is a mistake, we will rectify it. Okay? Because honesty is our best policy, and also we believe in old-time chivalry, etc., etc. Why would we call ourselves a ministry of the real truth? The whole truth, nothing but that truth, in regards to the scriptures, and state in our videos that we strive to bring that whole truth, the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but that truth of those particular original, ancient, very old Tav Asheret Old Testament manuscripts, the Lishana Artika, the sacred scribal language of God, etc., or the original Aramaic, dated at around 800 BCE, hand copied by scribes and monks in Urhai, now modern Edessa, Edessa, now modern Turkey. Yeah, and also the Galilean Aramaic, original ancient, very old Galilean Aramaic, not the modern, if there is one, modern vernacular. This is a long dead language, but it was revived by native-born Aramaic-speaking translator Victor N. Alexander from Mesopotamia, Syria. Okay, he was translating from 1800 or 1889 Bible that he received as a child, as a reward or something like that. He states in his translation project testimony statements. It's translating from that, from the Syriac Peshitta. It's basically a Bible that was put together when the American missionaries came to Umia in the 1900s or earlier, and tried to translate the King James Version into the Syriac. There was no Syriac grammar at the time, so they had to create one, as they did with the South American tribe. They went there and tried to convert. They couldn't convert them because there was no word in their language for hell. So they had to create one and then demonstrate, well, if you put your foot in the fire, you get burnt. That's the same sort of thing, right? In order to convert them. Deceit, trickery, whatever, to win them over to their Western Christianity, right? So, we have done a video on an interview with a priest from the Diocese of the Apostolic Church of the Eastern California, and he's interviewed and he actually says what we're going to touch on, right? Okay, so let's go back to this. It says 10 Christian myths that show Jesus never existed at all, nailed by David Fitzgerald with this podcast with this myth vision character, right? So let's blow that bacon sausage away, shall we? If there is Christian myths, 10 Christian myths, etc., that show Jesus never existed at all, bring it on. If there is, are the original ancient, very old Galilean Aramaic manuscripts given to the church, the Apostolic Church of the East, founded by Thomas? There we go, we corrected it. Around 1 AD. Hidden and preserved by the original ancient, very old Apostolic Church of the East that Thomas founded. Yeah. We weren't too sure it was Adai or Thomas, but we come to of late realise that it was Thomas. And he sent Adai to King Akbar the Black in his country, etc., right? With a letter and a drawing or painting of Christ, and he got healed supposedly. Okay, so the disciple of Jesus, Thomas is the disciple of Jesus, along with the help of Bartholomew and Peter, Keeper or Cephas, with a rock, who handed them over to the high priest appointed to that church, or appointed to that church, as testators. What's that, a testator? Someone who testifies. A testifier is basically someone who leaves a last will and testimony. It's not effective until he passes away, he dies, right? And then it comes into effect. But most these days used someone who testifies. Okay, so these were people that hung with Jesus 24/7, 365 throughout his 3.5 year mission. Those who testified to seeing, hearing, witnessing what Jesus the Christ did. They saw him doing his thing, saying his thing, and then being nailed to the tree or stake or cross. Tacitus, the Roman orator, historian, states that he saw records of he knew of records of the Christos, put on trial and executed by order of Pontius Pilate, prefect, or whatever you want to call him, imperator, whatever the word is. Then this atheist myth vision is a myth staken full of it, as has an intention to undermine the scriptures, etc. So we tell it how it is. Okay? It's nothing personal, we just tell it how it really is. Sorry, buddy, there's just too much evidence verifying Jesus the Christ existed. He actually existed. His myth visions, beloved buddy, top theologian scholar Bart D. Ehrman, even stated on his misquoting Jesus lecture from years back that he believed Jesus actually existed. He's insistent that he existed. But he's not the Christian version of Jesus we have today. A gimme, gimme, gimme all I want Saviour. Okay? Fulfill all my needs, gimme money, because I'm promised money if I give all my money away through tithes, planting a seed, all that sort of stuff, by these prosperity churches. Myth vision was a former Christian who fell away due to possibly the Americanized English Bible versions he's reading in the baloney, or he's read in the baloney sold him about those modern translations from the Roman Catholic Church put up by the American Bible Society and similar. Then there's the guy who was an atheist who many others who researched all he could on Jesus and realised he indeed existed, etc. Then converted from atheism to a believer, or being an atheist to a believer. Just because one man, a so-called expert, writes a book saying here's the proof, the facts, that he's right on the button. It doesn't actually mean that he's right on the button. Okay, in regards to this person saying, "Oh no, Jesus never existed at all," here's the proof. It doesn't mean he's actually right, because he could be totally biased, prejudiced, twisting the scriptures in order to put across his atheistic stance, perhaps as a paid shill. So is this myth vision the same? Is he totally bias free, prejudice free, and not having a hidden motive to twist the scriptures, to stomp all over it, doodle all over it, say it's fraudulent, this and that, to put across his atheistic stance? Is this guy a paid shill? Is getting paid by somebody to do this? Could be a clickbaiter, you know. Oh, look, I'm getting lots of clicks. Oh, I'm making lots of money. I'll keep putting out these claims, and I've got an audience, and I'm getting rich. Okay. So this person replied to us and said, Galilean Aramaic manuscripts dated at 1 AD. We've just realised the wording is wrong, so we will change it. Our apologies, Mr. Commentator. It would have been received, yeah, not dated, yeah, received by the Apostolic Church of the East that Thomas founded, given to these high priests. Their church or their congregation was destroyed, so they ran. Somebody picked it up, and then they went across lands and they created this apostolic, or he founded this apostolic Church of the East, and he gave them to these priests, who then hid them for 2,000 years from Roman Emperor Constantine, because they're under persecution, and the Roman Catholic Empirical Church, etc., for 2,000 years. So they were hidden and preserved, therefore they were hidden and preserved, therefore preserved for over 2,000 years, not tampered with, as verified by former patriarchate of the Apostolic Church of the East, Mar Isai Shamum, who Andrew Gabriel Roth, a Messianic Jew, had on his website, the AramaicsCryptures.com, the statement, the testimony of this Mar Isai Shamun in 1957, who said, from the day that they were given by the blessed hands of the disciples, they remained intact. They were never translated. Well, at some later date, obviously, from what we found, they were translated into the Koine Greek. They weren't tampered with. They weren't translated into other foreign languages like Chinese, Egyptian, or anything like that. Yeah, even though in different parts of Africa there were similar churches, or churches that came out from this apostolic church over time. And so these people are testifying, and also that Mar Isai Shamun stated this, and also Victor N. Alexander, and Andrew Gabriel Roth, and there's others that can verify it as well. Even the Assyrian patriarchates, okay, they know the history better than anyone else, because they're native born Syrians or Assyrians, right? They don't like to talk about their history, but they know it. Okay, a lot of people don't want to know their history, the Assyrians, etc. They think we've been told it's too painful, it's too horrid, etc., etc. And they're talking about the history from the very beginning, through their martyrdoms, their persecutions by the different factions, Roman Catholics, the Empirical Church, the Mongols, Genghis Khan, the Mongols, the Tamerlanes, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Kurds, and so forth. Okay, so the Galilean Aramaic manuscripts were handed over to that church by Thomas, who then hid and therefore preserved them for over 2,000 years. So this person is saying this is before Jesus was supposedly born. So what's it supposed to be proving? Well, this person obviously doesn't know the chronology, the time, right? The timeline. Because if he's born at, say, 6 AD, okay, or he's born at 6 AD, 4 AD, whatever is claimed, then 1 AD comes later on, doesn't it? We got confused with this as well. We made that mistake. Yeah, but that's what we realised, okay? That we got it wrong. But yeah, so he was born, say, 6 AD, 4 AD, right about the 14th, 15th reign of Augustus Caesar, who was deified by decree by the Senate as a god, a son of the god, right, or son of the gods, and he had to be worshipped and all this sort of stuff. We've done an exclusive video on that. So he was born in that area, and it was actually stated, Revelation 13, 14, something like that. I did in this video, where apparently there was an antichrist, or a replacement, a counterfeit, a fake, who was a Caesar Augustus, during the ministry of Jesus the Christ. Okay, because supposedly Jesus said to his disciples, or those around him, possibly his disciples, you know that there's an antichrist, or the antichrist is coming, the antichrist is coming. Oh, in fact, he's already here, and that's what these original ancient Galilean Aramaic translations of the book of Revelation say and indicate in the footnotes provided by Victor N. Alexander, the native-born Aramaic speaker, translator from Bet Narain, or Mesopotamia, Syria. So the Galilean Aramaic manuscripts weren't before Jesus, that's right, because until he came along they didn't write the stuff about Jesus down, because he hadn't yet appeared. But after he had, after Jesus or Yeshua Mashiach was born and he started to minister, that's when they started to write them all down. Yeah, and the Galilean Aramaic is an offshoot of the original ancient, very old Tab Asheret, or Aramaic, and the Lishana Atika Cypriea, the sacred scribal language of God. But throughout, from the Brita, or Genesis 1:1, to the last verse in Revelation, was it 22:21 or something, it speaks of him. He even declared it to the Pharisees. It says, you're looking for me. The scriptures tell you from the beginning to where he was standing in front of the Pharisees about me. It speaks of me. I'm spoken of in there. Yet I'm standing right in front of you, professing to you I am that Son of God, etc., etc., sent by God, etc., etc., but you don't believe me, because by the time they had their texts, their manuscripts, for some reason they either got corrupted or they got lost or something like that. It's on a translation project of Victor N. Alexander, and they also set their dates wrong. Like it went from AD 0 or something like that, supposed to go to 1, and they used 0 again. It was something like that. That's just what we've come across. You have to go do the research on that yourself. Okay, so throughout these scriptures it spoke of him, Old Testament and prior to him coming in the New Testament. In the book of Tacitus, he stated he saw records he was around long after the Christ was dead. This is when Tacitus was around, say about 40 years after the Christ had died, rose again, ascended, and was in the kingdom of heaven. And he saw records that was procurated. Well, okay, mistake again, sorry, apologise, kiss, kiss, kiss. Okay, he knew of these records of his procurator. He was aware of them. Pontius Pilatus, who put on trial a certain Christos and then had him executed. The Roman historian and senator Tacitus referred to Jesus, his execution by Pontius, his trial and execution by Pontius Pilate, and the existence of early Christians in Rome in his final work, Annals, written around AD 116, book 15, chapter 4 to 4. Okay? And I think it's 44. That's correct. Anyway, it's here, right? There's a link to that here. We also have the book of Annals and the Histories by Tacitus, the Reader's Digest version. Tacitus, not the only non-Christian writer of the time who mentioned Jesus and early Christianity. Other possible references include those by Flavius Josephus, who's not that reliable, but Urban says, like there's Christian undertones being added to it. There's a different style that's not his, etc., etc. So he's deemed unreliable. Pliny the Younger and Suetonius. The last of these, Suetonius, also seems to mention the persecution of Christians under Nero. He blamed the Christians for the burning of Rome, when all the time it was that nasty so and so. But Domitian or Vespasian or someone like that was worse. As Tacitus says, even he had to turn his head and not look at what that particular guy was doing, right, to the people, his own people and others. As with almost all ancient Greek and Latin literature, no original manuscripts of the Annals exist. The surviving copies of Tacitus' major works derive from two principal manuscripts, known as the Medician manuscripts, which are held in the Laurentian Library in Florence, Italy. The second of them, is that Plutarch? 68-2, is the only one containing books 10 to 16 of the Annals, is the oldest witness to the passage describing Christians. Scholars generally agree that this codex was written in the 11th century at the Benedictine Abbey of Monte Cassino. I guess that's in Italy, and its end refers to Abbas Reinaldus, who was most probably one of the two abbots of that name at the abbey during that period. The Annals, passage 1544, which has been subjected to many scholarly analysis, follows a description of the six-day Great Fire of Rome that burned much of Rome in July 64 AD. The key part of the passage reads as follows. Translation from Latin by A.J. Church and W.J. Broderick, 1876. That's the Reader's Digest version that we have. Established facts. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. And he writes, this person writes, yeah, could have... Oh, okay, who was that? Was that me replying to him? Yeah. Okay, so then we reply with, yeah, could have the dates wrong, as we apologise. The dates, they weren't given, or they weren't written as a date. That's probably the date they were given to those high priests in the church by Thomas, the blessed hands of Thomas, as the Isai Shamun, the patriarch of 1957 of that church, testified in intact and all that sort of stuff. Since the day they were given, they remained intact, basically. Yeah, so I could have my dates wrong. Then there's making an apology there for that. Admittance, right? If Jesus was born, say, the 6th or 4th century, was the Apostolic Church founded in 1 AD? See? And that's when we founded by Thaddeus or Thomas. Okay? So that's when we later realised, oh yeah, okay, if Jesus is born in the 6th or 4th century, then after he dies, is resurrected, ascends to heaven, etc., those disciples are still around. So their church, their house, their congregation where they dwelt, they met, worshipped, all that sort of stuff was destroyed. They went across land, someone picked up these texts and ran with them, right, to that Church of the East, or founded that Church of the East, and then gave them to the high priest there, who then hid them and preserved them from the Roman Imperial Church, etc., and Constantine and so forth. The Church of the East is that ancient church which developed in the regions of Assyria, Babylonia and Persia, today's Iraq, ancient Iraq, and western Iran, to the east of the Roman Byzantine Empire. Note this, it is an apostolic church. It's established by the apostles St. Thomas, St. Thaddeus, and with the help of St. Bartholomew apparently, and St. Peter, the chief of the apostles, added his blessing to the Church of the East at the time of his visit to the sea at Babylon in the earliest days of his church. The chosen church which is at Babylon, and Mark, my son, salute you, greet one another with a holy kiss. 1 Peter 5:13-14. The Aramaic Disciples New Testament, translated by Victor E. Alexander. There's a comparison here, right? This is your from some website, right? Okay, and this is the Aramaic Disciples New Testament. 13. My son Mark and the chosen church of Babylon say shalom. 14. Say shalom to each other with a holy kiss. Shalom to all who are in the Messiah. Amen. During the first century of the Christian era, the Church of the East was established in the city of Edessa. It was actually Urhai. Okay, well, the Greeks called it Edessa. It's now modern Turkey. In the northernmost Aramaic-speaking city-state of the Eastern religion, I think this priest deacon of the Diocese of California actually said it was southern. Not really sure. Can't remember. Reference to this can be found in the writings of the historian Eusebius, another one that can't really be trusted. They say he exaggerated a lot. This is the claims of your top scholars like Bart D. Ehrman, etc. Ecclesiastical History, Book 1, Chapter 13. In 280, the Church of the East was officially organised under the Catholicos Patriarch Mar Papa Bar Gagai of Cilicia Siphon, and in 1410 it renounced all subjection to the See of Antioch. The eastward movement of the church saw Christian communities flourishing in what is now Afghanistan and South Central Asia. and there's a link to that. Okay. So this person replied and said, Tacitus also wrote the speech to Caledonian General Calculus gave to his army before their battle with the Romans at Mons Scopus. He's trying to come at us with something to like stomp on us, right? You know, to undermine us, which is, he says, a very stirring speech. You haven't come across it yet, but it's probably in one of those books, the Annals of Histories. Was Tacitus in the enemy camp of the Chalcedonians to hear the speech? No. Was Tacitus even in Caledonia? No, we don't know, because we haven't really read it for a while or extensively. There's a hell of a lot of information in that book, right? 2 volumes of it, heaps of books. Tacitus also said Emperor Vespasian miraculously healed the sick. No, not too sure on that one. We thought it would be, it could have been that guy. Yeah, it could have been right. We thought that it was Ptolemy Soter. He deified himself as a god, or claimed himself as a god, made a statue of religion, all this sort of stuff. But he was a neglectful god, apparently. He'd rather chase a woman or something like that, according to the histories that we found, right? Yeah, we think it might have been Vespasian who did that, because there's a section where a guy came to him with a withered hand or something wrong with him, leg or something like that, and this centurion or whatever witnessed that this guy supposedly healed him or something, right? Yeah. So this guy tries to be cheeky and says, still think Tacitus as a source is ironclad. Well, he's better than your Josephus, he's better than your Herodotus, etc. So he's more reliable. It's been verified that he's more reliable. Okay, so we reply to that person. Tacitus, an orator of great school, etc., was relaying what he had heard in his day. Yeah, he heard what was going around about what went down before his day or earlier. Because don't forget, he was born 40 years after Christ died, was resurrected, ascended to heaven, etc. And possibly when all those, a lot of those disciples had died off, or were martyred or something like that. As he did with the origin story of the Idea, or the origins of the Jews. He was giving several versions that he had heard, rumours, claims, etc. Okay? He also speaks on Seraphus Christus, who he stated was deemed a god who neglected his godly duties in favour of other things. And he was also recording what he had seen in the records of his procurator, Pontius Pilate, or he heard about, right? He knew, he had the knowledge that Procurator Pontius Pilate, or Imperator, whatever they called him, who put on trial the Christus and had executed years after the fact, because he was born 40 years after Christ died, resurrected, and was ascended to heaven, right, etc. He was more reliable than Flavius Josephus, whom it was said his records, antiquities, etc. were tampered with, or of another writing style not his own. Herodotus, the said father of all histories, was an exaggerator. So these two are not as reliable as Tacitus, who, being a Roman, would have been very Rome-oriented, political, and therefore politically orientated. And trying to make a troll like, lol, stick, you failed, lol, bada bam, bada boom, lol. Okay, nothing personal, it's just, that's our comeback, right?